DreamHack ASTRO Open is brought to you by ASTRO, Monster Energy, Corsair, Zowie, and Intel.
There are some teams in Counter-Strike that cement themselves in the history books. Two of these teams now take to the stage in Jönköping for DreamHack Summer 2017 Grand Finals. It is the DreamHack ASTRO Open, 100,000, a trophy and a big boost they may need for the next month and a half of Counter-Strike action. It is non-stop from here. SK aren't leaving Europe, Fnatic are on home soil, and it's a best of three with so much to talk about. I am your host, Machine, and I am joined by two lovely men, the men in black. Indeed, they don't slay aliens just yet. Instead, they hang out and talk about Counter-Strike. I have Halvor Vendetta Goodestol and the ever-lovely Jacob Pimp Vinica. Gentlemen, welcome back. One final time. One more best of three, ride or die.
One more best of three, and a pretty great one at that. I think this is, for the longest time in CS, we talked about the most hype possible finals we could have gotten, and oftentimes the answer were SK versus Fnatic. When Fnatic were in their heyday, SK were slowly climbing back into it, or approaching the throne, really.
Absolutely.
And we didn't quite get to see that. Obviously, injuries happened, so on and so on. But now we're seeing two teams that seemingly to be in pretty good shape. And that should make for an absolutely fantastic finals.
Fantastic does seem to be the word. It was something you talked about a lot as well, Jacob. Before we do that, though, we would not be able to do this event. It wouldn't happen. It wouldn't exist. The stage would not be set, and the crowd would not be piling in here in Jönköping without our sponsors, and they are beneath me. ASTRO, Monster, Zowie, Intel, and Corsair, all coming together to make this event a possibility. So a big thank you to them as we prepare for the grand final. I know I'm ready. I'm sure you guys are as well at home. Hashtag DHOpen is the magic combination of characters to get in contact with us and show how you're watching, what you're watching, and if you're loving or hating. Who are you supporting? That's the question. I'm going to throw that question at you as well, Jacob.
Who I support?
Not so much as a fan, but more about who do you see kind of rocking and rolling their way through this one. Let's talk about how they got here. We'll bring up the groups while you do discuss it, because it wasn't necessarily the most free of wins. In fact, the two teams in the grand final did not make it through the first day semi-final lock-in.
Yeah, it's two second places of each group, which is first of all interesting. That normally doesn't happen. SK had a rough start against Immortals, I'd say. Immortals played well in that game, but it felt like, again, we talked about it, SK and Cash, like they're on certain ground right there, so that could be part of the reason. I feel SK have stepped up the last few games, and it seems like SK, as well as Fnatic, they're on a grind upwards, They're getting better and better, and they're playing themselves warm. Fallen talked about it, they're jet-lagged a little bit. They came from the States, and they have to be here for, 4 or 5 weeks. So this is only the beginning of SK's curve, I'd say, in terms of form, So same goes for Fnatic. Both have the major and the major qualifier to play for.
Oh, yeah.
And again for Fnatic, like it wasn't without a good fight they got to the final. The CLG game in the group stage was insane. 31-29. That was a nail biter for sure. And good for Fnatic, that they went through it. Good for Fnatic that they overcome that loss, because that's a big loss. NA teams are not meant to be the likes of Fnatic as it is right now.
Yeah, and I mean, of course, condolences, and also a lot of lessons were learned for the guys in the semi-final that fell. Immortals and CLG did not quite make it. North and South America did fall, but we do still get to see SK in that final alongside Fnatic. Halvor, I didn't know this myself. I actually caught this from Yanko on his Twitter. I didn't know that not a single best of three win, SK versus Fnatic. How has this eluded them for so long?
Well,
SK have never beaten them in a best of three.
But that's the thing, we have to think about when SK, or Luminosity, if
sure.
that was their name back in the day, what kind of place in the CS world they were in at the time. When they got to DreamHack in 2015, they weren't a world beater, they weren't a top contender, they were starting their rise. So they got Taco and FNX into that team, they slowly built their way upwards, and they did run into Fnatic quite a few times in a couple of semifinals and a couple of grand finals. The last big one was I Am Katowice in 2016, where Fnatic ended up winning 2-1. But it was just a slow grind, and ever since I Am Katowice in 2016, SK kind of took over the reins as the world's best team. So
This is going to be good.
It's going to be amazing. Has been avoiding them, when SK came on their rise, Fnatic decided.
Oh, we'll just shuffle the roster.
We don't want to be good anymore, So it's more like we haven't seen too many matchups, especially in that finals with these two teams, and then it should be a great final.
So you're telling me that they they haven't been hot at the same time, or at least as hot as each other at the same time.
Exactly. It's 2 different eras, basically.
Yeah, that's true. We do talk in the Fnatic, we talk about the SK era and what they were capable of, and now they're trying to regain that. That has been kind of the returning storyline that we've driven throughout this weekend, is that SK want to start here, however, they want to start this event with a trophy lift, as do Fnatic, of course.
Yeah.
Both of these teams. Let me do it for both.
Yeah.
Fnatic and SK want to start here, lift the trophy, and then just momentum their way through and just steamroll.
They want to end it in 45 days with another trophy.
End it in Poland.
Yeah.
That's going to be the big crescendo for them.
It definitely is, and it's going to be really exciting to see who kind of gets the first jab at each other, because it should be a pretty close game. I think map-wise, this makes for pretty good finals, even though Fnatic might necessarily has, or normally Fnatic wouldn't have as map of a wide pool.
Sure.
But we've seen SK struggle on multiple maps, even the maps that they feel super confident in.
Yeah.
So no, it should make for an absolutely spectacular bout.
Now, I do remember being told that Parla wanted to hang out with us as well. I don't know whether we have the capability to bring him in, if he's indeed ready, but we'll just go ahead and see. Is Parla hanging out? Is he around the stage area?
Trying to summon him?
I am, indeed.
Hey.
Alex, can you see me? I can see you, I can feel you.
Oh, I feel you. We're about 2 meters away from each other on either side of this.
No doubt, and I'm meters away from a pretty tense crowd. There is
Are
an
they flooding in?
excited... Oh, they've already flooded in. There are only a few empty seats in this crowd. I'm sure those will be filled very, very shortly. Yeah, the energy is high. High.
Have you caught a glimpse of any of our grand finalists yet?
I can see them directly ahead of me, just down at the end of the middle aisle, and I can also see, well, there were some other gamers who've been competing here, ready to support both of those teams, and so
fantastic.
Yeah, everyone is here and ready to go, Alex.
That's good to hear, as well as you, Parla. I mean, are you feeling those? Whoa, no, you're not. Never mind. It's
not
okay.
feeling it.
Thanks very much, Parla. We'll leave it there. The players are getting themselves ready for that. It's always like, I imagine you just feel like a badass doing player walk-ins. It's just, I've never experienced it, never will. But that's
You
like,
say that, but there might be so much in the future, right?
fingers crossed.
Yeah.
One of these days. I have been on the grind.
Do you have like your walk-in prepared?
I'm thinking about it. I mean,
are you going to like Kerrigan shadowboxing?
I think I'd probably go for like a kind of
fidget spinner?
Cartwheel.
No, okay.
Damn you!
I mean, that's all we've been doing the entire weekend.
Yeah, I actually have it right here.
Yeah, exactly.
DreamHack gave it to us. It's their fault. They threw fidget spinners into the green room and watched us distract ourselves with the Counter-Strike. But Counter-Strike is what we want to be talking about. I don't want to waste any time here. One thing I want to bring up now is the question of confidence, and it's something that SK have talked about in interviews, Fnatic even more so. I think that's more where this conversation is leaning towards. But Jacob, confidence is key. Yes, cliches aside. How much confidence do you think lifting a trophy here would give towards something like Fnatic, who haven't lifted a trophy in over a year?
Yeah, there's no doubt, and that's also a factor playing into this matchup, that it feels to me that it means more for Fnatic than it actually does for SK right now. You know, Fnatic keeps saying we haven't won in years. You know, we want to lift a trophy. This is home soil. Obviously, there's more on the line for Fnatic than there is for SK, and that puts on a little bit of extra pressure on the Fnatic guys. Whatever that's a good or bad thing, we'll see. Whereas as for SK, obviously it will be a great start for the whole trip in Europe, but SK is a championship winning team. They're a major winning team, and they have been in the recent past, whereas Fnatic have a few years ago, you know. So SK know by themselves that even if they go out here and don't win the final, their main goal is still the major, and they're still going to prepare for that, and they're still going to be ready for that. Yeah. Whereas Fnatic, it feels like they like, I wouldn't say need this in order to get ready for the major, but it would be a huge step for them, because it can show them and the world that we're actually ready to take the fight for the major, and we can actually maybe start hoping making not only out of the group stage, which should be the goal as it is right now, but actually going into a semi-final, going into a final at a major, and actually hope to win it.
Well, while we talk about how they're feeling and what this means to them, what better way than actually asking the players themselves? We have got an opportunity, it's very brief, to quickly check in what the players had to say to our camera crew a little earlier ahead of this grand final.
This game against CLG was crazy. We are always practicing against them, so I think that's why it was a really hard game for us. But in the end, I think we were just calm, relaxed, and we did it.
And rotating back to a more defensive one and just holding on the other side for that makes perfect. Valve once again going for the triple, getting it done. And CLG just wrecked completely.
I think the biggest challenge for us this tournament and this semi-finals is like we haven't remained calm and just tried to play together, but we have stressed a lot all the matches except for the Mirage game against Immortals now, so I think we can do well in the final.
First half, quick push banana.
Grenade and through the wall. From bad to worse, the spray comes in. 4 kills.
playing against SK is gonna be amazing. Like we've fought a lot in the past, and they beat us last time, so we're looking for revenge now.
When we came here, we had one goal, and we are really close to reach the trophy, to reach the tournament. So root for us.
Ladies and gentlemen of Jönköping and everybody watching online, are you ready? We started with 8 teams and now we have only 2. 2 dynasties of Counter-Strike, one from Brazil and one, of course, from Sweden. Please put your hands together and welcome to the stage SK and Fnatic. Good luck, guys. Good luck, good luck. Please enter your booths, but you to Fallen and Olofmeister, let me have a quick word. Fallen, we have heard on good account that you guys have never beaten Fnatic in a best of 3. Does that mean anything to you?
Well, that means we're gonna lose. I don't know. I'm kidding. It's very tough to play Fnatic in the past. Lately, have been proving they have been getting close to their old shape, and it's always a pleasure to play them. They're super good. So I'm gonna break this curse today, hopefully.
Olof, do you think the Brazilians will lift the curse?
I hope not. I hope not.
All right, Fallen, Olof, any final words to the crowd? Anybody watching online before we get this show underway?
Guys, I'm gonna understand if you guys don't cheer for us because they're Sweden. All right, no worries, no worries. I mean, I just wanna give you guys a good match. We're gonna try to play our best as we always do, and I'm expecting a very close match. They're super good, and we're gonna fight to the end.
Olofmeister, what about yourself?
I just want to say that it's been an honor to play in front of this crowd, and I hope to do you guys proud. Thank you.
There we go. Please shake each other's hands and head to your booths. That will be it from me for now. This crowd is ready. The players are as well. Alex, back to you.
Thank you, Parla. An incredible amount of respect between the two, and I do just love seeing players in front of those home crowds. It may not necessarily always show, but even just backstage, even just like being able to speak their own language to them. We saw it when in Sao Paulo. We see it here as well. There is just that extra something on the line, and we've already highlighted how much outside of that is on the line for Fnatic. So this is a big one for them, a really big best of 3, and it's always exciting to talk about these names. We don't always get to talk about these names at this stage of a competition, so yeah, blow the dust off our discussions and we'll jump back in.
Yeah, no, I mean, to talk about these names, it would be a very fitting place for Fnatic to kind of make a re-entrance or re-emergence into the top level scenes. Yeah, simply because this is kind of where it started. If you think about where, you know, if you go back to 2015 in DreamHack Winter, this is where they, you know, started off the tournament giving a pounding to that Luminosity squad, 16-0.
What was the score again? Remind me.
This is big 0.
That's right.
And a nice little 16 for the Swedes. So it would be kind of, you know, coming full circle in that way if this is the start of Fnatic's reclaim to the throne.
And that was right after the SK made the roster changes. That,
yeah, pretty much like the day after.
Right, yeah, like they've just made the roster changes that are like, guys, I promise.
It's going to work out.
I'm smart, right? Okay, this is the roster change that makes us world champions. And then it was
like 16-0. I was like, yeah.
I'm not sure. And they got like pretty close as well, though, didn't they? They pretty much... That grand final?
Yeah, they got to the grand finals versus Fnatic, of course, and lost in the best of 3.
Yeah, so a rematch. These guys are no strangers to one another, and I think, you know, for us, I think it's worth discussing where these two teams do deviate. Both incredibly good at the game. What's kind of different between SK and Fnatic in terms of where that success is sourced from, Jacob?
I feel SK at the moment have more playmakers than Fnatic have.
Playmakers
in the sense that the players of SK has been in better shape than the players from Fnatic. Because when you look at the Fnatic lineup from 2015, you'd say that was the team with the most playmakers. And it kind of like, it's a rough statement to make, because when you look at the lineup, you have JW, you have Olofmeister, you have like even Dennis, he's a big playmaker. Like those are some of the biggest playmakers in the world, you know, but they just haven't been in shape and then just haven't been synchronized together, at least not yet. Whereas it feels like SK's playmakers in terms of Phelps, in terms of Fur, and and Fallen for that matter, backed up by coldzera, the best player in the world. It seems like they're more synced together, and there's like I'd say like a more streamlined plan with the way SK plays, whereas for Fnatic it feels like they're trying to figure out how it's going to work for them, and they're getting there slowly, sure, but they're just not there yet.
Yeah. It is so cool, and I love that we found ourselves in this situation a couple of times, but when we sit there and try and list the best player or the player to watch, and you find ourselves, and this is not a fault of yours, we start listing 4 if not 5 members of every team. It's just that it's got to the point now where there is something to be said for everyone. And I mean, if we look on the other side of things, you've talked about SK. For Fnatic, we're once again returning. It was a while ago we didn't do this, but now we're talking more about Olofmeister than we perhaps used to.
Yeah, no, he had obviously after or right before Columbus, his arm started to not basically be in top shape, and so his performance dipped as well. And ever since then, he hasn't really been the same kind of player that we've grown to love over the course of the years. And now it's seemingly finding slowly back to that kind of a level. We saw it versus TLG, had an absolutely amazing performance in that best of 1, followed it up with a great game against Gambit as well. And that obviously, like when you see those glimpses again, you start to believe. That's really why you get back into talking about him, because his top level is absolute insanity. It's like, I think Jacob mentioned it earlier this week, and like his top level, probably not seen anyone being like quite there.
Unsurpassable.
Yeah, it's just that insane.
It really was. And actually, he posted a personal kind of post. Did you read it recently?
Players Tribune.
Yeah, it was fantastic to read.
Oh yeah.
Like just I think the thing that stood out most to me, as I kind of tried to inhale it all, was the fact that it was the hardest thing for him was watching his team play without him, and like he's sitting there desperate to play Counter-Strike, knowing that for the long run, for the long term, and being an adult about it, he had to just sit back and watch as the variety of players went through it in his place. And I mean, the biggest shoes to fill, really, for any Swedish player.
Yeah, no, that's not an easy task.
It was tough, it really was. But he's back to a degree of form that we said we haven't seen in a while. It seems to be pressure was the key word, right? He
thrives under it.
Every overtime, Olof seems to turn up 3K back-to-back in the Inferno game.
I was tempted to say when you mentioned, when you wouldn't really be able to tell how Fnatic are going to deal with, the amount of pressure they have on them compared to SK, and I was immediately thinking like Olofmeister, he's going to love that. Yeah, he's going to be ready for these finals, and not only that, but I think it's a bit of a re-emergence from someone who hasn't really been as much in the spotlight as in the 2015 edition of Fnatic. It's JW, and we saw that in full force during the semifinals.
Absolutely, and actually, while we're talking about kind of players that are perhaps under-discussed, I'm going to turn it on its head and talk about Mr. coldzera. So commonly discussed, and there's a reason for it. I just want to make sure that people understand why we talk about Mr. Marcelo David. There is a great reason why, and I mean, when you look at his statistics, of course, when you look at that stat sheet, there is nothing like it. There is no other player, Jacob, that has this unbelievably green record. I mean, that's where it's sourced from, just consistency?
It's just insane, basically. And it's not only like if you take away the stats, which are insane and which probably are the best in the world, look at the rounds he wins. We've even seen this tournament, the 1-4 Mirage against, who was it even?
Mousesports.
Mousesports, exactly. That's a 1-4 clutch I, as a player myself, can dream of to make on a stage like that, That's something that might happen for a player once or twice in a career, where it seems like he just produces those sick rounds every single tournament, There was a great example on Couple today in the semifinal as well as against CLG, where he just outplays his opponent. It was a 1-3, I believe.
That's right.
We sit in the green room and we think, coldzera, he got this. We know he got it. You can just sense it when he's on form and when he feels the game on a completely different level, and it just shines through his play. And that's what makes him so important for SK. It's not only the fact that he's consistent, he puts up great numbers all the time. He turns around games. We've seen SK a bit lackluster throughout some of the maps, and plays from Fer, plays from coldzera, that's what turns around the game for SK. And you have him, you have a playmaker in potentially like the best in the world.
Absolutely. And look, I mean, let's look at that roster, Halvor. Just a quick introduction of those names. Number 1 is Mr. Phelps.
Yeah, the young gun, new addition to the team. Hyper-aggressive player and an extremely good opening fragger, and comboed with Fer, and like that's probably one of the scariest duos you could ever think to or imagine to go up against. And he's been gradually getting better and better as the tournament has gone along. Had a very slow start, even started the semifinals pretty slow, but ended it with a massive bang. And if that's going to be the continued trend for him, then he should be an absolute one to watch for the finals.
They've managed to play around the change-up really, like it's finally found the formula that works. It was so hard to watch, and especially talking to Fallen afterwards, it was hard for him personally to try. They tried something new, right? They tried a formula, something completely different.
They didn't follow the Fallen system.
Thank you.
For a couple of weeks, they tried something new, and they figured out the Fallen system is pretty good. It's grab them a couple of majors.
It's worked so far.
Yeah, exactly. So never, no reason to change a winning team. Don't fix it if it ain't broken.
Yeah, try to play around the new addition to the play. Of course, very competent player, Mr. Phelps, but
definitely.
Put him within the system, and it turns out their results are back on track. And it does seem like the player we've chosen to highlight from Fnatic is JW. Mirage, probably the map that will be fresh in our memories. A 16-1 end versus Immortals. Was that just, well, sure, Immortals having a bad time, but that was a quick reminder of what they're capable of.
That's one of Fnatic at the best, That was a vintage Fnatic game from 2015, especially Mirage. It used to be one of the best maps, and it used to be one of the maps where if you go and you start T-side on Mirage against Fnatic, who are rolling as CT, you don't really know what to do. And I don't know if Mirage is going to be part of the map pool. We're trying to figure that out, But like, just imagine starting on Terrace line for SK after getting beasted by CLG, going up against Fnatic, who just show how great their CT side is, That's a bold statement to make.
Cobble being removed again from Fnatic, first ban throughout this tournament. I'm assuming Nuke is going to be the choice for SK as well. Now the choice, like the map choice for Fnatic should be pretty interesting. They have said themselves that they think they are the best team in the world on Inferno. If that remains true, they should pick it, and they're sticking true to what they've been saying, true to their word as tacos,
which is
playing with the camera.
Which is quite interesting, despite having that Mirage game, because that gives confidence. Sure. They've seen SK play Mirage against DLG.
Overpass. That could also be why we're seeing Overpass instead. It's one of the lesser maps, less played maps for on Fnatic's end, and obviously we know that SK are an absolute world-class team on that on this map as well. So I think that this is more SK knowing, not necessarily playing to only their strengths, but also knowing what kind of weaknesses.
Mirage, it's like pick your poison at this point.
Yeah, and obviously with SK having the last pick, they had a pretty good showing on Train versus CLG. I'm just saying, so I wouldn't be too surprised if that's going to be our third.
I mean, they did just see Fnatic do unspeakable things to their brothers from Brazil.
Oh, they're actually going to opt to...
That's a confidence pick right there. That's SK saying, whatever, we're going to beat you on one of your better maps, That's ballsy.
That's very ballsy, especially considering the fact that they stomped the living hell out of CLG on Train, and CLG brought it. They definitely brought Fnatic to the limit in that upper bracket match. So, yeah, no, this is definitely SK just not giving them any respect and saying that, we can take you down where you shine the most.
I mean, admittedly, they did just have a game off, hanging out, watching that particular performance on Mirage. True. They're probably shouting and screaming at the screen, saying, "No, Immortals, do this, do that." Maybe they can do it put it to practice themselves.
I'm going to be very, very curious to see how you deal with a JW like that. If there is an answer.
Getting wrecked is the best I can
Don't
say.
die through smokes. Come on, guys.
Yeah, that's one thing, and they couldn't deal with Ricky from CLG when they play Mirage, So dealing with JW in a form like that, that's going to be rough.
So, what's happening
Home crowd
here?
favoritism?
It's not even the crowd, is it? It's not even the crowd. I think that's Twitch chat, guys.
Oh, less than... Okay then. We're breaking the system right here.
What is happening?
I have no idea. I feel like this is maybe this is Ulf playing around.
I think there's a man backstage who's having a lot of fun. I think he might be Swedish.
Could be.
Yeah, I'm going to assume our statistics are a little more for those predictions equal. What about you guys? Let's start that discussion early because I want to make sure you have ample time to kind of justify and explain your points, because I imagine a grand final between these two titans of Counter-Strike, a prediction is pretty hard to make.
It is, but I don't expect Fnatic to win, but I do like their chances, if that makes sense. Let me elaborate.
No,
exactly. I like their chances simply because I think Inferno is a pretty good pick for them. Even though we saw SK, managed to win their Inferno game versus Mousesports, that was definitely not a match I saw SK winning. That was more Mousesports losing it more than anything else, and I think that's a good sign for Fnatic as well. We've definitely talked about how SK do look shaky on various maps. They haven't locked in their map pool completely, so I think that's a great way for them to actually get to a third map, and we did see that they are capable to make the stars align when needed. So at the point where you get to Mirage, it's more of a toss-up than anything, but still you kind of have to favor the team that's been more consistent over time, and that's SK for me.
SK Gaming from Vendetta. Okay. Now turn to you, my Mr. Swede. Mr. Swede, excuse me.
Yeah, wow.
Whoa, putting him all in a box now.
That's insulting.
Fnatic on my mind. I'm sorry, I'm thinking about my prediction. That's what's happening.
What is your prediction?
Oh, you're jumping. He wants more thinking time.
Okay, yeah, well, to be fair, you've said that you would start.
Okay,
and you've kind of just deviated from that completely.
Entirely. It's because I'm supposed to ask a question. Okay, let me think about this for just a millisecond.
I had my answer ready to go here, Alex.
You did. That's because you're a professional and I'm just some random guy they pulled off the street. Okay, so my explanation is going to be simply that I love that Fnatic ended their semi-final with a performance like that. I love that there's this much on the line. Like, there could not be more on the line for Fnatic.
They have more to fight for.
Right, this is it, you know. Not only is it revenge, because of course they have already done this. We can replicate what we did previously versus SK after that previous performance in DreamHack. And on top of that, the month ahead, they want to cut SK down, hamstring them before they start this run. I'm going for Fnatic. There we go. How about you, Pimp?
I don't know, to be honest. It's going to be very close, for sure. Inferno, nah, not really. Inferno's going to be close. Inferno's going to be very close. I think it's a ball to pick from Fnatic as well, because Fnatic didn't look that good on Inferno, I'd say, throughout this tournament. They won against, was it TRG, I think, but lost against Immortals, you know, and Immortals is a great Inferno team, but not that great. And SK said it themselves, you know, we can play Inferno, but we're not that confident on it yet. We're still learning. So that's going to be the toss-up for me. It could go both ways. Overpass, I see a clear favorite in SK. It's one of their go-to maps, has been one of their best maps in ages, you know. Them, Na'Vi, and Astralis have always been the 3 Overpass teams in the world, and I don't see that changing, not even against Fnatic, who did play well against Immortals on Overpass. I think it's going to be SK, and I think actually it's going to be a 2-0. Inferno is going to be close, and even if it's not going to be 2-0, it's going to be 2-1 for SK. I see the better team win this one.
The better team will win this one, but going for SK there from Pimp. All right, that's what we have to say at the desk. Don't forget, DH Open. Let us know who you have down to win this one. We're checking that out as we head to our casters. It is time to introduce the voices of the game. The man, the Biff. The Biff?
The Biff sound?
You're the Biff and the legend. That's right, Metas in his beautiful red regalia. And of course, Team Red and Team Blue, Dust Murray joining him. Gentlemen, what are you thinking?
Man, I feel like I want to go with Fnatic, but my head's telling me that SK will just about edge this out. But I could see it going a distance for sure.
You're giving me 3, though. You're giving me 3.
3 maps, yeah. I think we're going the distance.
Oh my god, I can't wait. Dust, just very briefly, just give me a team name.
I'll go SK.
Okay, lovely. Let's have a little look if Fnatic can put on a show for the home crowd. You guys enjoy filling this stadium with your voices.
Thank you very much, Alex. Yeah, this has the makings of a truly great finals. I'm just hoping it lives up to the prospect of that, but for the way that JW was playing in those last couple maps with the AWP, I mean, that was reminiscent to the JW of old.
Oh, absolutely. Like, everyone in Fnatic seems in really great form throughout this tournament. The only person who's really had any trouble is Flusha, actually, who's leading the team, obviously. But, I mean, Olaf looks to be having one of the best tournaments he's had since the injury, which is really great news for him and for fans out there. Dennis has been on point. As you noted, JW's AWP is going to be great. And it's true that Fallen's actually kind of the one on SK who's been a bit more quiet this tournament in some of the games with the AWP. He hasn't been called on so much because guys like Fur and Coldzera particularly, obviously, with all the big clutches, and other people have really stepped up, so he hasn't really had to deliver, but that could be something to keep an eye on, is this AWP duel that we might see between JW and Fallen throughout this series.
I totally agree, especially with the maps that we're seeing come up as well. I don't think there's any map that necessarily lends itself to a stomp. You know, both teams are going to be competitive on these maps, and it could, I mean, not just go the distance in terms of maps, but each map could go the distance too. I don't think we're going to have any stompy maps here.
Yeah, I was actually surprised that SK didn't pick Cash. They picked Overpass instead, and I know that, you know, historically they've been great Overpass, but it hasn't been as strong with this 5 as it was earlier. So that was definitely a little bit odd to see that. I know it's a weaker map for Fnatic, so that's the thought going through their heads. But we'll talk about Overpass later. First up is going to be Inferno, the pick of Fnatic, and we're going to get live with these grand finals here at DreamHack Summer.
All right, ladies and gents, here we go. Fnatic on the T side, SK coming through on the CT. Is history going to be made by SK Gaming today? Only time will tell. Fallen already rattling off some shots. He's spotted a couple of players. Doesn't really tell them anything, though, in the very early stages of the round. As we can see from the benefit of having the overview of the minimap, the bomb's actually over on the second mid side, so it's going to be a slower paced affair. And Fnatic yesterday, when we saw them playing on Inferno, very slow on the T side. We didn't see too many rushes, we didn't see too many lights out rounds, so you're expecting more of the same today.
Yeah, again, I mean, they do like to do some of these gathers, though, and that's what's going to happen here on this pistol as they do get those Glocks out in middle. They take control of brackets. They actually push Phelps off, and he has to go back into library. The smoke is up. They're going to start attacking into CT spawn. Phelps will hopefully be able to spot this. Meanwhile, B's being taken by Olaf, but Fallen, he's going to cut him off, but the CT spawn attack, it has come through, so it's all even. As now Fnatic can kind of take their time and think about this. Controlling this part of the map makes it very hectic for SK.
Certainly unorthodox. It's not really a position from a CT's perspective you're going to be in too many times, and they're going to start to come back towards mid, and that's where Taco and Coldzera will be facing off against them. Flusha, he's going to connect a Glock headshot and buying up enough time for the rest of his team to get that bomb planted from library. domes Flusher instantly. Didn't have a chance. Dennis will return fire. One of the best pistol players in the world. They'll be hoping to live up to that right here, right now, as he's already gone for 2, but needs to go for 2 more. And he's going to have a player coming around from the side. That's Fallen. And SK Gaming will draw first blood in the pistol. At least, though, Fnatic get a bomb plant. It gives them options.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, in the current meta, you could still see them do a force buy in the second round. Very heavy-handed with even extra equipment value being added to it thanks to the extra cash. But you could also see the save for the third round. Get those AKs out early. As this is just well managed by SK on the banana side of things. It really forced Fnatic to have to go back A after getting in the CT spawn, and then again, just good management from SK to pull it all the way through. And you're going to see Fnatic buy up really light here. I mean, they're going to get some 250s out, a Deagle on Dennis, but they're making sure to save up for that full buy in the next round. So that is what we're going to be waiting for. SK should have an easier time with this. We do see them putting some pressure on Banana early, just getting control of Car. Cole did take an aggressive peek in window, but does back down pretty early on.
With SK on full SMGs, the farming is certainly going to be on the cards. However, Olofmeister on the P250 decides that he's going to go ahead and alleviate Fur's head from his shoulders. Taco will very much rinse and repeat. JW, definitely a player to watch out for in this best of 3. Has bit the dust. Olof going to come through for a second. They get isolated courtesy of an incendiary. That will leave Crims all by his lonesome for a few seconds before he's put in his place. And it has been a bit of a sketchy round, but this is where you expect the UMPs to start to triumph, and indeed that seems to be the case. Olof only with 12. Has been the assassin for Fnatic this round with both of their kills. And does have a little bit of time to burn here, Dust, so maybe he can get another kill out of this, but I mean, this round surely going the way of SK.
Oh yeah, where the bomb is down at, there's really not much he can do. The only thing he can really hope for is to try to sneak in on someone, catch someone off guard, maybe pull down another gun, try to force a little bit of rebuying out of SK, not let them to bank up that cash as much. But he's going to be spotted by Taco, so no shenanigans to be had. But here comes the real buy from Fnatic, and curious to see what they open up with, because obviously the Fnatic of old with this 5, they were known to be the most extreme on the spectrum of being loose and aggressive and just really using their individual talent to play like this loose style. Very good teamwork and chemistry to play off of one another, but still that structure didn't really feel like it was there. But this, you know, current iteration, they really do rely on playing the slower defaults a lot more than in the past, and we'll see. That's what they want to open up with. Usually Olaf and Flush are going to be trying to work Banana with JW in the apartments and the rest kind of floating around, and that's exactly how this tale begins in round number 3, as we do see some nades being exchanged. But Fur, he's going to go aggressive.
Decides to try and use the UMP at close range. Going to be turning up through the smoke, not far off landing a frag. Flush is down to 68. The only Galil in play. He did go for more nades as a result of that, though. Had a molly at the start of the round.
So nothing special here from Fnatic. They've been pushed back on Banana. Taco's getting a little bit aggressive on the balcony here. Takes some damage, but is able to fade back. So still no blood has truly been drawn, as all 5 players remain for each side. Fallen getting a little bit aggressive there with AWP. Doesn't find the shot, but able to fall back, so no harm, no foul. And we still kind of sit at a standstill, but we're starting to see Fnatic start to try to fight for a bit more map control.
Mid being stamped down, but Phelps and Coldzera are going to be spamming through with UMPs once again. It's Phelps that claims the kill, and Dennis goes by the wayside. 40 seconds. We'll see Fallen rattle off an AWP shot. He is joined alongside Fur, so he doesn't have to worry too much if they start to push him. The time is getting scarce, and Fnatic, although they have got control over apps and somewhat mid, now that Crims has landed the headshot on Phelps, it's time that's going to be the issue. They haven't got rid of the likes of Pit. They haven't seen anyone on the site either. They're basically running in blind. Speaking of which, flashbangs are landing, but Taco stands tall with 2. Coldzera with a 3rd. And although the kill has gone the way of JW, he doesn't really have enough time to clutch this. Instead, he's going to be hiding and trying to save the AK. SK continue their winning ways. And JW may not be long for this world. Down he goes after time. Salt in the wounds.
That's one of the problems that Fnatic has actually had throughout this tournament. Is we've talked about how they have, you know, moved to a bit more of a slower pace as kind of their foundation. And the clock has been their worst enemy at times throughout this tournament because of it. We've seen, you know, several rounds kind of come down to the wire and really just losing off and not having enough time, and that's basically what happened there, especially since the bomb just took such a bad toss off the balcony, way deep in pit. JW didn't have enough time to backtrap and grab it and get back into the site. And so the first buy for Fnatic falters, and they will be back on just the pistols, and SK smelling blood in the water here, start to push down Banana once more with Fern. He's already collected a couple. So there's probably not too much to be seen here, as SK are off to a great start.
Certainly the case, the start that they would have been hoping for. Not so much from Fnatic's perspective. Still early days though, of course. And even in this round, it's not quite done just yet, although the early signs not pointing towards the Swedes. Not much is certain. 2 Deagles and a Glock. JW, of course, wants to pull the trigger on the AWP as soon as he can. Hence his complete lack of investment. Fnatic just hoping at this stage that SK will make mistakes and just gift wrap free frags, but SK not really the team to do that. Dennis will be put down by coldzera, and Crim's the only player that has got himself on the score sheet for round 4. And that may be the only kill that he gets out of this. Fallen's going to flash, pull himself back to the site. Bomb under control from the CTs. It's at the top of mid. And so Crim's forced back out into the open. 4-0. Confident start for the Brazilians.
Indeed, they've weathered the storm of that first gun round, but now Fnatic should be back to making a purchase here, and we'll see if they want to change anything up. They just want to stick with the default, just stick with trying to get Banana control apartments and just leaving all their options open. Problem was last time they just waited a bit too long to make that final execute, and the clock really killed them, so hopefully they'll pick up the pace enough to ensure that won't be a problem anymore. As we are indeed going to see Flush and Olaf again, just having this Banana exchange with SK as most rounds have kicked off. Fallen will be there with the AWP per usual, a spot he's always liked to play. Waiting to see if anyone's going to give him something to shoot at.
Well, Flusher, thanks for coming. Not going to get anything out this round. And JW also didn't have an AWP. I was curious to see if he would end up going for that, if he even had the funds for it, instead it was a UMP. Not that it matters anymore. So he's been eviscerated. Olaf Meister is going to give some form of hope. Not for too much longer. First silences him. Dennis and Crims both together in mid. Don't have control of the bomb. And Phelps is going to go down. Gets double peak. Taco there in hot pursuit for one. Crims comes back with yet another. So at least now Fnatic are taking some weapons out of the hands of SK. They're going to make these rounds begin to sting. But of course, having a 4-0 start and potentially a 5-0, they've got money to burn at this stage.
Yeah, what is Crims going to do here? He's getting flanked around middle by the Rifle of Fur, who is actually pushing into T-spawn looking for Crims. Crims has some time to play around with. He still could make his way through apartments and plant in the A side, as the player over there is actually holding out in library. So there is a little bit of a gap that he can maybe fit through with the right timing. Looks like he will actually just work his way up lane side. So again, definitely a possibility for a plant. As Cole's actually going to have to wait a good while for Fur to get in position for them to tag team this up. But now Fur begins running up middle as he knows time is low and that he has to get here.
And Crims probably just missed his chance. He may get the bomb planted. Well, in fairness, he's able to recover afterwards. That incendiary is going to destroy him, though. Fire or bullets, pick your poison. SK continue their unbroken streak.
It is good timing by Fur, realizing where the clock was at and knowing that he needed to get up middle to be there with Cole, and he gets a great timing. Also, again, it's just SK winning these Banana exchanges, and that was a great shot from Fallen. Just SK always able to stay ahead of the trading game. Despite some of these entries from Crims, it was always SK out in front. And speaking of out in front, that lead is building big time, up 5-0, and Fnatic on a much more limited buy here. Flusha just on the Galil. Still a decent amount of utility out there, though. They haven't really been able to get an op-out either on T-side yet, which is something they really do like to do on either Olaf or JW. Particularly Olaf, actually, since JW likes to play apartments. But we're going to see aggression again, Banana, but this time Olaf catches it. Triple Banana pressure opening from SK doesn't quite work out.
First time, really, Fnatic have got the opening pick, but instantly Fallen evens the odds. And he may be good to go ahead and tip it in SK's favor. His Smiley senses tell him there's another player here. Olaf Meister's going to get one. Is he able to double his tally here in round 6, or indeed triple it? He's already got 2 in this one. Bomb still in second mid, so he's running interference.
He's holding Fallen in place. He's allowing his other 3 players here to work a 3-on-2 over on the A side. But Cold, he's going to take a peek here from Arch. Lands the option on the Dennis. That's even in the odds now. Back to a 3-on-3. Olaf will shift back over to middle as well now. So the focus is definitely here, as Cold has to fall back around the library.
Will get smoked off. JW gonna keep his sights trained on library. Moves through the smoke. Gonna try and get round the back of coldzera. And of course, Fallen, he's not going to be rotating at this point. They haven't even seen the bomb at this stage. He's going to still be on B. This is a great call by JW. The downside is that coldzera is not going to be here waiting for him. He's actually pulled back to the site. Both teams playing this one perfectly, but now JW is going to open up onto Taco. Is he going to be able to get any more from this coldzera? Lands the frag, and he's still on position on the site. He just needs to waste valuable time, allowing Fallen to get back around, but it's not going to happen for SK. This could be Fnatic claiming their first round, but it is the man himself, the brains behind the operation, Fallen. It's a difficult site to retake when you've got an AWP, but you don't have a smoke. You can't cordon off either of these areas. Be peeking onto the site itself, nothing showing, not even a pixel to work off, and down he goes. Fnatic, welcome to the grand finals, 5-1.
Yeah, they just worked the numbers so well after they had Olaf trade out great over on the B side of the map. They had the numbers advantage, and they just were able to manipulate things well on the A side. You know, Fallen was never really able to safely rotate, and getting that moto wrap, getting that kill on the Taco inside pit, that was so critical. And so that is a point on the board. And you can see the money low for SK. Some of these rounds were close, so a lot of rebuying's been going on throughout the half. So they're already on UMPs and a CZ on Phelps, but Cold will actually have the 1 AWP for them. It's not going to be in Fallen's hands. Again, normally playing that B rotation position, they want Cold to have it at Arch side. So just kind of a positional decision. As again, Fnatic content just to sit on this default, you know, not really rattle anything, no real adjustments just yet. Everyone working their normal spots, getting that initial control of the map.
Lane's beginning to rain down onto B side. They try and draw out some of the SK Gaming's utility, but nothing forthcoming as of yet. No rotations. Keeping SK on their tiptoes, on the edge of their seat. Taco on balcony has just spotted a player. Time and time again, you'll see JW play in these kind of positions. He loves to go and be apps. Crim's out through boiler. Gonna be Phelps, who was hiding on the Archer's side, but he has been bested. Did have the CZs, that's the worst weapon off the table. A slight silver lining on the dark cloud looming overhead for the Brazilians. It does retain 3 UMPs, and of course coldzera's aforementioned AWP. They have no kits though. It's going to be a concern. Not much time left. coldzera's going to go walk. He's going to go look for some kills, and there's one. And he's not quite able to survive as JW goes for the repeak, and that's up to Taco's UMP. How many, if any, can he get from this point forward? There's another one. He's not able to get to the Sanctuary and pit. In actual fact, he is somehow, someway. With 3 seconds left, Taco may have done enough. Fnatic have timed themselves out. What a horrendous way to lose the round, and if they die after time, it's going to be even more brutal, but they do retain both weapons.
That's twice now Fnatic have really had the clock be their worst enemy. That's the thing that's beating them in this round. It's also Taco, though. These are some really key kills with the UMP, because they did trade out Cold pretty efficiently. They were getting in the site, but Taco prevents that bomb plant with 2 key kills. So really well done. They're actually able to keep the UMPs in play now as well and try to farm some more cash, because they know Fnatic has a lower buy on the way. They do have double op, though. I think they picked up Cold's and then they got another, so going to be able to put that to work. That has become increasingly more popular on T sides lately. G2 was really doing it a ton this year. We've seen Immortals and CLG doing it, and you know, Fnatic no strangers to it as well. Again, giving you that new look Fnatic, just taking it really patiently, and hopefully not too patient though. Don't want the clock to burn them again. We see Cold boosted. We haven't seen this used a whole lot this tournament, actually. So this may catch Fnatic off guard.
That is a fair point, but the fact that the last side of the smoke has been placed down will allow them to go for the peak. Crims was looking up there, but coldzera was just simply too fast. Not the first time that we've said that about his aim. Incredibly on point. JW tries his hand with the CZ outside of apps, but nothing's really going to stick. And this is where the couple smokes have to be put down perfectly. If Fnatic want any hope of even getting kills from this scenario, to win the round seems like a distant dream at this stage. Taco with his M4 opening up in pit. Phelps is low, but still alive, and Fallen has gone down. The double ops starting to come to fruition. Not the greatest weapon to take sites with, but they're somehow making this one work. And now with low time again, they're looking to force their way on B. And this is all down to Fer, who goes for the peek and off, lands the shot. There's going to be just about enough time for the bomb plant. Have Fnatic really just pulled this off? Taco and Coldzera may just want to save. We've already discussed how the economy for SK is terrible right now. And they are going to save us. Somehow Fnatic have just pulled that round out of nowhere.
Yeah, SK just got a hard reset right here. Look at their money. This is the only 2 guns they're going to have in the next round unless Fnatic goes hunting and finds them. And Fnatic just does such a great job of putting that pressure on the A-bombs, like holding people in place, slipping one player into CT spawn, and then being able to fall back off middle without SK really being able to get that information. In fact, the one player who did push for it, I think, was actually Phelps, who actually got caught by the CZ of a Fnatic player out in mid, so then he couldn't get the flank off. And Fnatic just, you know, really able to pinch that B-bomb site. So really good maneuvering for them to put a second round on the board. They'll maintain the double AWP setup. And again, they have SK's economy in shambles. So this is where they can start gaining some ground back.
Needs to start right here, right now, doesn't it? Because you've got SK in that perfect position for the KO. They're wobbling. Their knees are weak.
They force everything here as well, though. They buy up all that they can despite the reset. They know there's a chance to reset Fnatic right back. That's what they're hoping for here. So mostly UMPs out for SK. Just that one M4 on Taco. They do have a kit on him as well.
Feels like deja vu. The bomb being dropped to the same place almost every single round. Fnatic sending 2 players up Banana, deciding to then join the rest of the team, try and come through apps with JW, rest of the players on mid. Yeah. You've been here before, you've seen it before, but Fnatic have managed to make...
This is a bit of a pacing change, though. They have come off of B a lot earlier than in the past. They haven't really maintained that top banana control this time. They really have much more of an emphasis on middle, so there is a slight variation going on here. But JW's been spotted, he's been taken out.
Crim smoked off, can't even get the avenging kill at this stage. This is solid work by SK. They're using the weapons to where they're strongest, and that's up close. Obviously, the M4 for Taco has a bit more free roam at range. Nice shot by Olof, and they're going to actually go for the boost themselves up there, Fnatic. Using it against SK. Smoking out arches, out into the open. Will come Phelps, and he wishes he had an M4 at that stage. Olof probably would have ended up dying if that was the result. Still, with all these smokes down, it is affording Fnatic to flank around the side of the site and put so much pressure on Phelps. Fallen's going to go down 2, and now Coldzera. Oh, he's got himself 2 kills. Crims was low. The bomb's been planted again with about 4 seconds left. And Fer seemingly hungry for a potential retake. Maybe looking for a weapon on his travels towards the A site. There are a few of them down. So much carnage has fallen here on round 9. Olof already with 3, continuing his solid performance this event. And yeah, this round's pretty much just slipped away. Fer has no chance now, doesn't have enough time for the kit, he's just waiting for exit frags.
And he knows money's still low on Fnatic. Forcing them to rebuy definitely can do a heck of a lot of good, as well as still farming up a bit more cash with that SMG and even upgrades to an AK. It's about the best he could hope for in that scenario. Again, Fnatic almost getting burned by the clock there. They just so happen to have the few seconds left they needed, though. Able to get those trades right there late. Really thanks to Olaf's AWP. That was actually the biggest part of it.
Jeez.
Again, he kind of shifted off of B a lot earlier than normal to put that AWP to work on the middle side. He got the picks he needed, particularly that crafty boost on quad. Like you noted, normally a CT position, but certainly Terrace can put it to use in the right situation. And they have forced SK to tap out. USPs only, except for that one gun Fur's been able to carry over. He is going to put it to use. That banana actually on an aggressive setup. They're not going to be able to go after that gun, though. Flush is holding them off from being able to put it into their arsenal, but at least they have the numbers, and maybe they can go for it later.
Yeah, but as you highlighted, that's the only weapon in play, really. Rest is USP, so as soon as the charge starts to come to fruition on the site, you're expecting to see the CTs fall. But what is happening here, Fnatic? You're allowing the USPs to actually best you. Just running into a flat-out crossfire. Crims is going to get caught from the side, and it's just a complete shambles. Flusher's going to try and clutch this. A position Fnatic should never be in. And he's being tagged left, right, and center. Not only do SK win the round, they keep 3 players alive, will be to pick up AKs.
That's so unforgivable if you're Fnatic. Just death by 1,000 paper cuts. Just USPs shooting BBs at them until they fall down. Ridiculous stuff. This should just not be happening. Particularly how coldzera is able to get up here. No one really picks up on it. Sneaky little play. And so off of 1 AK and 4 USPs, essentially no money invested in the round, they're able to pull it off somehow and get Fnatic right back into a force. And again, they won't go straight to their default this time. They are trying to do a bit of a pacing change, maybe something a bit faster at mid once more. This is actually allowing SK, though, to freely push down banana. They haven't quite tried to get in flanking positions yet, but at least they're getting the information.
Info, of course, very important, but you've got to be able to convert off that, and Phelps is going to go down. Okay, the Tech 9 starting to really rip through the armor of SK. Taco's been here so many times, they must realize it. The bomb's actually been dropped out, gets flashed a couple of times, can't see anything. Olaf, meanwhile, through the smoke, gets bested by Fallen. But he's on 12. The bomb will be planted, and Fur up on the balcony side of Apps has his work cut out for him alongside the weakened in-game leader of SK. Fur's going to drop down, spray just about on point, not going to land a second. Crims up on the boxes, all dispatch of him. And indeed, Fallen, I was thinking the exact same thing. You've got no chance, just get out of there, keep the AK alive. So Fnatic right back into this. I was wondering if that previous round would really hamstring them, if we'd start to see SK go off on a tear. I'm actually happy to see Fnatic bring it straight back.
Yeah, really well done. The best way to handle getting killed by no investment is to at least reset them right back and force them into a similar scenario, as money's going to be tight on a couple of their players. They did save 1 gun, though, and there is a little bit of money around there, so they might be able to put something together if they so choose. And that's more of the classic Fnatic, right? Like low buy, fast-paced play, somehow make it work. Back in the days of LD, CZ, certainly Fnatic was one of those same teams that were able to make low buys work. They still can with some of the players they have that are powerful with those Tech 9s, and if it comes to fruition, to keep them close to SK, you do see SK go ahead and buy up what they can. And it includes a couple of UMPs, but still a pretty good amount of utility out there. And that AWP is going to be a play again on coldzera, rather than Fallen, who's playing that B rotation position. So they've really put a lot on him. Flusha trying to get an entry here, but Fur, he holds on just barely, but it's enough for a frag.
Surprising that Olaf actually goes for that Molotov as opposed to bouncing it off and getting it on sandbags, because Fur would have been absolutely screwed. But either way, both himself and Fallen down to 18 health. The B site is weak, and therefore Phelps is going to trade places. They need 1 healthy player over here.
Yeah, I think that he was trying to isolate the guy's sandbags, not allow him to fall back into the B site and not allow his teammate to come help him, but then the smoke came in so he couldn't actually peek sandbags, so that might have been the thought. Or maybe he just missed and it was meant to go sandbags. Definitely possible as well. So we do have the boost going on for SK over here at B side, and they're gathering up the Fnatic forces over there, so we'll see if this boost comes into play or not. It's usually checked, but with Phelps being up top as well, these are some tricky angles to deal with if you're trying to clear the site on the Fnatic side.
Yeah, expecting to see some flashes precede the push. Olaf going to be going straight through, landing the kill. No, he actually doesn't. Fur will get the upper hand on him. Phelps goes down, meaning, of course, that Fur is still very much alive and kicking with his low health. Finally, he is put down by Dennis, much to the delight of the crowd here in Jönköping. Now Taco and coldzera are thinking about a retake. They have a kit, they have plenty of firepower, but it's a lack of nades that could be the issue. Good positions assumed by the terrorist, and there's the double spray from Crims. Straight through the smoke into the head And another round for Fnatic.
So Fnatic now on the heels of SK Gaming. They handled that double boost situation so well. Again, it can be tricky to deal with someone on top of those second boxes, on top of the boost CT spawn. But they get through it very well. And so now it is going to be 7-5, and SK are going to be essentially on a full save. Just a couple of CZs. They've converted around like this with a little bit less, so we'll see what they can do as flusha tries to farm with that Mac 10, does a lot of damage, but Fur again getting the opening frag here on B. He's done that a lot of times, actually. They've really been shutting down early banana pressure from Fnatic.
It's surprising, isn't it? Because you normally expect, even with a CZ, the Mac 10 is just gonna rip through heads. It's not without loss of life, though. Fur is low alongside Phelps, so almost an identical position to last time, except much less weapons.
Yeah, Fnatic looking to gather up here at Banana. They do have some utility to smoke off CT coffins. They don't have a Molotov to clear out any of the box positions, but they do have the superior firepower, and there is no real early rotation from SK, so they should have a huge advantage.
I believe they also heard one of those nades actually land on Fallens. They knew there was a player there in the smoke. Gonna clear out the rest. Really nothing that Fur can do from that position. At this stage, it's just business as usual for the Swedes. Clean up what remains of SK Gaming. Coldzera, for him to even get a kill, is in amongst itself pretty crazy with USP. But it's still, of course, going to be Fnatic's round.
So they bring it one step closer. 7-6 will now be the score. Again, not much there from SK to fight back with. Nothing gimmicky either, which is pretty standard setup, and Fnatic able to roll through. So after a hot start from SK, again, at one point they were up 5-0. You now see Fnatic just a round away from tying it up.
Taco does get the kill, but he's not going to be able to get his hands on the weapon. Oh, I'd kind of like to see what happened with Taco. I mean, JW's a handsome dude, don't get me wrong.
You gotta like that smile.
But Taco didn't save his CZ, and he didn't get any more kills after time. We just skipped to that in time, but here is the take on JW's frags. 3 of them in total. And as you highlighted, Dust, went from a 5-0 start now to Fnatic breathing down the necks of SK. They have really turned this T-half around.
And they have Olaf on the AWP again. Again, this is a map where he's going to use it more than JW. Even though JW's the primary op, it's kind of map specific because he loves to work those apartments, not really a position meant for an AWP. As Olaf does take a good bit of damage, so does flusha, really. So the B attacking force of Fnatic have been pushed back to T stairs, and they've come back with some scratches and bruises as well to show for it. Fur also bleeding out, to be fair. As again, it's just one of these typical openings to the round. Fnatic have not really done much to stray away from this. Only a couple of rounds on low buys where they've gone a bit faster. So they seem content just to kind of keep with this. Again, a bit of a new look for them when you think about this 5, but it's been working. They have 6 rounds on the board.
And you've got to respect it as well, because to start things off, it really wasn't working. As flusha connects the headshot through the smoke, Fallen out in no man's land. They felt compelled to go for these peaks as a result of a lack of nades. But now they also lacked pure manpower. And although Coldzera, as ever, is on the site, lurking, waiting for his opportunity to strike, you assume they're going to get a kill back on him eventually, and Dennis is the man to do just that. Phelps and Fur isolated from one another. Phelps can hear the bomb. He's getting planted right now. It's taken Fur a long time to start his rotation, so Phelps is going to have to wait here for quite a while. In fact, he decides to push through the smoke and lands one. But disjointed, no cohesion between the 2 remaining Brazilians, and therefore it is going to be Fnatic taking the round. And they could even be leading at half-time.
Certainly could be. Again, it's so great when you're playing your default and you're able to get entries on both sides of the map, essentially simultaneously. You know, flusha throws down a spam, right as JW gets a pick on Taco in the apartments, and so now you have an instant 5-on-3. You've caused the defense to be lightened up on either side of the map. The rotations are going to be so difficult. SK are going to be forced to make some type of gimmicky play, and so just it couldn't be a more ideal scenario for Fnatic after those 2 openers. And so now we are 7-all. Last round of the half, it's just UMPs for SK aside from that FAMAS of Phelps. Again, Fnatic keeping it standard here. little bit of an exchange of utility at Banana as Olaf and Flusha do try to work up. A good pot flash comes through, but Flusha's still the victor of the duel as Fur goes out. Fallen trying to trade back, but he's also eliminated. And again, an instant 5-on-3 for Fnatic.
Olaf is going to get taken down instantly, but has the damage already been done? It's going to draw out Phelps over onto B side. This leaves Taco and coldzera to face off against potentially fourth of the terrorists of Fnatic once Flusha joins the rest of his team. Both on the quad side, but they have their back to balcony. And they must know that JW's always lurking around that position. Looking for the firing squad to come into effect, and Taco is going to take down one. They're not expecting coldzera to be there as well, and he's going to put that UMP to use with 2 kills. He's able to survive as well. JW, he's not able to capitalize on this. Excellent work going for the double. They never expected a second player to be there. And although the Molotov may very well burn Phelps to a crisp, he's managed to jump on the other side. JW's caught this, but not quite on point. CZ in hand, and down he goes to coldzera, who finishes the half on 17 kills. He's not showing any signs of slowing down. SK taking 8-7 half.
Yeah, again, SK, they were down a little bit on the defense, so they had to try to do something a bit crafty, and they decided to do that double porch setup. And this second player, a big piece there. Once they get the first kill, I think it's clear, but it's totally not. And it comes back to haunt them. Also, JW, he was on balcony. He could have actually traded lane, but unfortunately, he jumped into pit instead of jumping out the side of the cart, and so he didn't have an angle. He couldn't look for the response. And it got forced into a tricky 1v2 that he just couldn't find. And so there you have it. SK in the end win that half 8-7, but they did slip up a bit. Remember, they were up 5-0. Fnatic had quite the comeback effort to keep this game close. So not too shabby for either side.
And you have to feel for JW there, because Taco, time and time again, and I even mentioned this 3 or 4 rounds ago, was constantly playing the same position in pit over and over again. So you understand why JW jumps into pit to try and get rid of that area as soon as he comes through, as opposed to actually looking at quad. So I've got to say, versatility there and adapting was such a solid play, considering at one stage, I think that round was a 3v5. I think Fnatic had that really in their court. But either way, that's all in the past. Into the present, the here and now. Fnatic on the CT side will be pretty happy with this half-time score, I'm sure, after starting 5-0 behind. And already a nade shooting up Banana. Not really going to do anything. Krim still has a nade of his own and a kit. The rest of his team with Kevlar, couple smokes and flashes for SK. Nothing out of the ordinary just yet.
No, certainly not. We do have the apartment's control being taken up by the usual suspects, Taco and Fur. So again, very much default from SK. They're a very similar team to what you saw from Fnatic. They like to play from default a lot, like to grind the fundamentals, and that is typically the meta of Inferno. You're not really seeing too much innovation on this map yet. There's a couple of nice apartments executes and some crazy things on lane side, but for the most part, it's pretty typical play. And now we're seeing SK gathering up here at middle, looking to attack onto the pit. Dennis is receiving a lot of pressure right now. Gonna get taken out, and so SK, a clean sweep through the A site thus far, and it's gonna be all over now. Just Flusha, the guy over at B, left, and there's not much he's gonna be able to do now, is there? Gets a kill, but that's just a parting gift, you have to imagine. A participation trophy, so to speak, in this round, as it will be SK extending the lead.
Yeah, I certainly think so. It's a blink and you'll miss it kind of round as well. SK just barreling straight through. Flirting with the idea of B to start things off. Flusha not too far off from that tap, but Taco gets him as soon as he comes out into the open. Solid start on the second half. Mac 10's going to be picked up. The usual suspects of weaponry. And coldzera again showing why he is simply a cut above the rest.
Just a dominant round from SK. Really didn't have any trouble tearing through that A-bomb site, and so they will be rewarded by increasing their lead and being able to get the guns out faster. Fnatic, of course, though, those CZs and armor. Dennis with a pistol, period. It's always nothing to disregard. We do see, again, SK just opening up standard. A little bit of aggression from Olaf, though. Isn't going to get caught out by Fur, so that's already one to the good of SK.
See what Olaf was going for. Unfortunately, completely backfires. These are the kind of rounds that I do feel like you can just throw risks out there and caution to the wind. See if you can catch SK trying to set up for maybe a wall of smokes towards the pit side. didn't quite pay off, but he still has 4 healthy teammates to rely on. Fur spraying straight around the corner, but Dennis is to get one. Can he get his second one? Not quite. coldzera is down to 33. Dennis himself is down to the low 30s. But SK have the player advantage, and of course a whole lot of weapons to work off. Through apartments they will push. Phelps is still in banana, making sure that JW doesn't flank round the back. Wants to make sure they have full control over the map. They can therefore start to push through arches. And of course, if they get through on the CT side, then you'll start to see Phelps go up through banana and join them on the B site itself. I think Fnatic are calling this maybe a possibility, and flusha is the man to try and stop this dead in its tracks. And he's going to see 3 terrorists. He's spoiled for choice, but fallen. Once again, a step ahead. Here's JW, CZ able to get the kill on Phelps, but that's all she wrote for this round. Fnatic will concede another one. Double digits already for SK.
So again, SK, remember they had the 5-0 start in the first half off the back of winning pistol and opening gun round. And they're really on the same track in this half as well. So the good starts from SK is actually the big difference maker. That's why they're out in front instead of Fnatic. I mean, once the guns were out, it was a pretty equal exchange. So that could be a big factor that gets talked about on the desk later. Especially since nowadays getting 3-0 starts is way more difficult, and it looks like SK is going to be able to do it, as it's just USPs for Fnatic right now. Again, not really doing anything too strange. Usually on rounds like this, you'd expect some type of stack or some type of gimmicky push or something like that, because holding default with USPs is not really usually going to gain you much, as the SMGs will be out on SK trying to farm cash.
Yeah, I mean, this is an eco in the purest sense of the term. Not a flash, not a P250, nothing being invested. Similar story for Fallen, who of course wants that up. Crim's hoping for the best, but coldzera's UMP is too much to contend with. Bomb now going to start to transition through onto A. Should be a pretty clean-cut round again for SK Gaming, as you expect when you see the weapons coming into it. This will give them a 4-round lead. Phelps not able to finish off with the Glock, but it is a UMP. And this wouldn't be a bad take for Olof if he can take this out the round. He may actually be able to get a couple more, but the aim punch, too much to deal with. Taco able to lay him down. But here comes the rifle buy. This is where you're looking for Fnatic to wake up on the CT side and start to deliver.
And we're going to see the op in Fallen's hands already, so we'll see what he wants to do here. Normally he's going to be a guy helping out Phelps control B, but now that he has an op, you might see him float all across the map. That's where Cold, a guy who can be anywhere, might be thrown in over there at B as well. Again, you're going to see Taco and Fur typically looking to get apartments control, and this is not going to deviate from that. So we see Fur getting up in the window, Taco here playing the stairs, making sure no one's getting antsy on the Fnatic side. So again, very much the same you saw from Fnatic, just trying to keep it default. Phelps is moving up close. He might try to time out that smoke. He did get in front of it, but decides better of it. He just holds up against the wall.
Again, the flirtatious affair on Inferno continues. Incendiary and a couple flashes. Very important kill, and it's Crim's that's on top of it. Alleviates some of the pressure. It's going to be applied again with that grenade that lands not too far off. On to JW. He's down to 53. Joining flusha on the B side now. Still a lot of time to play with. SK in no great rush. Starting to take some control over mid.
Yeah, something about Fnatic early on in front. They were always content to give up brackets and let them get that first control of mid, and they just always felt confident being able to hold lane in the Moto wrap, particularly with guys like Crims and Olaf Meister, who are both in different positions than the classic Fnatic, right? They used to play B together. Now they play on the A side.
Off goes peeking again with Dennis, who gets to get himself 2 kills with the M4. And now that Phelps has died elsewhere in Banana, that leaves Fallen. Only 12 seconds to make a miracle occur. And he may be able to get the bomb planted. Not too bad, all things considered. Oh, and he lands a fast shot onto JW as well. That opens up the chance now. It's still fleeting. It's still just a glimmer of hope. a light at the end of the tunnel. Gonna be playing this one very passive. Waiting, gambling that both players come from the same side. And he is correct in that assumption. He's going to get a second. Surely not! Fallen! Oh my god, what a play! Out of nothing, he picks up a 1v3.
And even the Swedish crowd can get excited about that. As you know, they're supporting Fnatic. But when you watch something like that, you got to respect the man. What a clutch from this guy. You can never ask for better than this of your opper. Just back up against the wall. Doesn't really know if he's getting wrapped from the Moto side or not. Just tries to hold his ground at lane and delivers those final 2 frags. Cold and Fallen, just so clutch for this team. You couldn't ask for a better player to be stuck in that situation with an AWP. And so SK, you feel they steal one away, and look at the repercussions. Fnatic, no money. Just some upgraded pistols. I'll try to get aggressive in the apartments, but Fur will just hold them off.
I just panned to Fnatic and you could see all of them were distraught. What a time to lose as well. Eco 12-7.
For SK, it's good to see Fallen doing that. Again, he's been quiet at times throughout this tournament. Cold certainly had his clutches, no doubt about it, but Fallen, that's a big-time play for him with the AWP. And now SK will just collect their reward of dealing with a very well ill-equipped Fnatic.
Now, before in the past, when Fnatic have lost rounds like that, they bounce straight back with one of their own with pistols, but it seems that SK don't want to follow in that pattern. Want to start to move themselves ahead. JW gets denied by Fallen, has the back of his teammate in mid, which was coldzera. Now flusha with the Deagle. Are we going to have back-to-back highlight reel worthy plays? I'm going to go ahead and say no, Dust. I'd love to be proven wrong, though. And that's a rip.
Yeah, that's a GG. I'm sorry, but another moment will come. You'll get your time. We've had a lot of good players throughout this tournament, though, to be fair.
Oh, yeah.
And SK has been dishing out a lot of them, particularly coldzera, of course, as, you know, he definitely had it's funny, he had a bit of an off tournament at EPL, but it was still like a decent rating in KD and stuff like that. It just wasn't him dropping bombs or like being that best player of the world caliber. But he's been right back up there in this tournament. As SK are trying to find that trophy. They're a bit disappointed they didn't get that EPL Finals win after winning Sydney and CS Summit. Again, they're trying to prove they're the best team in the world again, and they were making ground on that until they lost to G2, and now it's still debatable. But they have a lot of tournaments ahead of them to try to establish themselves up there on the throne, as we are going to see them again opening up fairly default in this round, just taking their time to get control of apartments, and Phelps beginning to move up on top of Nana, but JW will be here with the AWP. Again, this is a new spot for him. Normally a lane side opper. Been playing a lot of B lately this time around for Fnatic.
Yeah, very reminiscent to what we saw Fallen do a bunch of times when roles were reversed. Landed a couple of quick flicks up on the wall. And we're getting towards last chance saloon territory for Fnatic now. They probably won't have a buy of this magnitude again if they were to lose from here. Double ops.
Yeah, I mean, the double op, I was just going to say, has been their most successful play on CT side Inferno throughout this tournament. So it makes sense they would go to this, like you said, in their kind of last chance scenario.
Well, time's starting to tick away. Taco's already been tagged up quite a bit. He's seen a bit of action. Through mid. Seems to be where SK want to pierce this defense, but they're going to be walking into Olofmeister, who's going to get one. Fortunately for SK, they didn't peek him 2 at a time for a collat, but he's going to get 2 anyway. Just needs to expend the extra bullet and a 3rd. This is exquisite work by Olofmeister, single-handedly carrying through this round. And even though Phelps is going to get kills, they're constellation at best. And it's only going to be 1. Excellent work, Olof. Just tapping Full on the shoulder and saying, I'm not too bad with an AWP myself, mate.
Yeah, and again, it's the double op that rings through. It's Olaf on the A side, able to just defend this short so well, just constantly finding shots and resetting, taking the peaks, delivering the quad kill, all they robbed on the ace by positioning, you feel like. If Phelps would have been on that side, you'd like him for the 5. With that type of form, as it is 13-8. Olaf was looking for something early at middle, not gonna find it, gets flashed off, but no harm, no foul. He'll just retreat and hold the angle. Keeping that double op in play again. It's been kind of the bread and butter Fnatic CT side Inferno. And they want this map. This was their pick, and they've been very successful on a very impressive record online in Europe, and they're 6-3 offline. Meanwhile, this map tends to stray towards maybe the weaker side of SK's map pool. Their top 3 typically floats around Cash, Cobble, and Mirage, so this is their chance, but they have to play from behind now.
At least little by little building up that lifeboat. They're getting there. Still quite a bit of work to do. Not out the forest just yet. Can't even see the sunlight through the branches. Fnatic, they are dug in deep. Once again, it's going to be the duo of JW and Flusher on B to try and repel the onslaught. Maybe a bit of a faster hit this time for SK. They're already lining up the Molotovs and smokes. Now, JW did just catch a glimpse of an arm or a shoulder peeking through. There's good counter flashes. It's keeping the terrorists at bay for a little while longer. Flusher's not able to tee off, and JW's been smoked out of position. This is a good take so far for SK, but the cavalry's about to arrive. Olaf would like to rinse and repeat from a few rounds prior with the AWP. But this is, of course, much more tenuous, much different circumstances. A lot of shots are missing, and Fallen will not be one of them. Crims will land a shot through the smoke, but Fallen comes through with more. He is on form right now, unstoppable. 3 more kills in quick succession to add to his earlier one on a 4K. And Crims just has to watch as the bomb about to detonate, looking for exit frags. See if he can scamper off with his AK. But the round is lost. SK take a 6-round lead, just too shy of map number 1 going their way.
And it was the 2 guys on stage that talked before the game, Olaf and Fallen. And it's the dueling ops between those 2 that has been dictating the pace of these last few rounds. Fallen had the big clutch. Olaf answers right back with the big multi-frag round to win it. And then Fallen, he leads by example, entries with the AWP on B, closes out with a few more kills. And so it's really the 2 snipers that have gone to work for their respective teams lately. Unfortunately for the Swedish crowd, it's SK who are out in front and just keep rolling. Fallen feels that swagger, goes out for more. It's again Olaf going down from his hands. And so there you have it. They're just a couple away from claiming Fnatic's map pick.
And Fallen on 19 kills, it feels like every single one of them has been so impactful. Guy is just getting entries where it counts. He's holding off retakes. He's doing it all. He's pulled off crazy clutches this map as well. Fnatic not quite buried just yet. Out comes Fur into mid. Once again, the quad boost not going to pay off for the CTs. Crims is going to answer back though. The double stack seemingly, well, it's difficult to call from a T's perspective. Fur straight back in though onto Crims. And balance from the SK Gaming side has been resumed. JW, oh, that was difficult to watch, although to be fair, hitting someone in mid-air is never the easiest of endeavors, and Cold Zero will put him down instantly afterwards. Flusher with his AK has been spotted. Of that, I'm pretty sure there's not much that Fur could do about that. He gets spammed up through the wall. He's a dead man. Can't help but feel that Flusher just delaying the inevitable though on Inferno. A drop in the ocean, any kills he gets from this point. And to make matters worse, he's about to get flanked. Excellent work though, even getting kills from this position. I mean, it's a valiant attempt, it's a nice try. It's not going to pay off.
So you can see Fnatic a bit dejected. I mean, they're on home turf, they're on their map pick, the one that they usually are quite successful on. It's probably at the top of their pool. Maybe on the lower end of SK, yet SK are giving it to them right now here in Sweden. Just 1 round away from going into map 2 with the 1-0 advantage here in the grand finals. What can Fnatic do to fight back? It's just pistols that they have to work with in this round. They're trying to put the triple banana pressure on. Phelps does sneak into logs, but only after taking a lot of damage. AW for the hunt, but the flash is just too good. He can't get in there. Fallen, bails Phelps out, gets the man advantage.
mean, that is a quintessential denial flashbang. It even skewed with his aim. He was thinking, oh, someone going to peek me from the left side, and instantly the Logs player peeks him.
America's flashbang. We get a lot of hate in NA about nades, but it is technically America's nade sound. Yeah.
Fair enough. I'm not going to argue with that. Coldzera and Phelps going to get themselves kills, and Crims and Dennis trying to hold on to this map. If they falter, SK will take a 1-map lead in the grand finals. They won't be far off claiming history in their first best-of-3 victory, if of course they can do it. Still more CS to be played. Dennis steps up to the plate. Can he deliver? There's one. It's a clean kill too. He's still got 100% of his health intact. Spots the second player. Lands it on the second player, but not a third. Again, a nice try, but it's not good enough. SK briskly moves to a 16-8 Inferno victory. And that was just dominant performance from Fallen and Coldzera. They both shone in that win.
Yeah, I mean, it was just hot starts in both halves from SK. They had the 5-0 start in the first half after winning pistol in the opening gun round. Then you flip over to this second half side again, a 5-0 start, right? So 10 of their 16 rounds won the first 5 rounds of each half. I mean, that's just brilliant. I mean, Fnatic did well to come back in that first half and at least put up a fight and make it 8-7, but they really just didn't have anything on their CT side against SK. Again, SK didn't really do much special. I think the big difference was while Fnatic always seemed to struggle to take top banana control, SK was always dealing with banana very efficiently. And so from their default, they were always getting a lot of options. You did see them change the pace a bit more, like they had that heavy 5-man B attack, something you didn't really ever see from Fnatic, who just stuck to their default pretty much every single round. Only on 4 spies did they stray away from it. So it felt like SK just had a little bit more there in the playbook, as well as just had a little bit better form, particularly in those early starts.
Seems to me as well that SK started to dominate and Fnatic crumbled after that Fallen clutch. Like straight after that, that's when the House of Cards came crumbling down. That's enough analysis from the two of us. We're going to head back to the desk, and Alex, take it away, dude. Break that down.
Thank you very much, Big Bear. Yes, indeed. Map 1 done of our grand final. And gentlemen, my vocal cords actually hurt from my very girly scream I released during that clutch.
It got very loud in the green room.
Oh, no, because you know what happens? It happens every time. I shit you not. We always go, Cold wins these, Fallen wins these, and it just happens. I'm in disbelief. Let's quickly explore that before we do the nitty gritty, because Dust has made some great points already about how quickly that escalated for SK. Yeah. Talk about that clutch. Now, I just got shouted out by strangers on the internet because I said Fnatic did nothing wrong. Now, I was, of course, talking about the double peak from
the 1v2, not
levels.
the 1v3 part.
Not JW trying to get some info.
Exactly. No, and yeah, I guess that if you're going to fault Fnatic for anything, it would be the fact that they, you can't do much about that. If you're Fnatic, you're approaching that completely correct. But Fallen's just so quick. Like, he goes up there and has about a millisecond to actually register where the second guy is.
And I love that as soon as, he's assuming he's hit that shot. As soon as the bullet's released, he's crouching.
Back
he knows he's coming from the shore. Man, I don't know. That was sexy Counter-Strike, and as we saw Metis saying as well, Jacob, as soon as that clutch happened, the pace picked up. SK just started to run away with it. 8-7 half to how it ended. I mean, proof in the pudding.
16-8. That was like nail in the coffin, you know. We saw the first in the first half as well. SK winning the full eco round, full USP round, pretty much. That's unheard of in a final. You know, you can't let that happen, especially not against a team like SK. It's giving them a round that they obviously don't need to get. So yeah, Fnatic didn't put up as great a fight as I might have expected. Inferno again, I kind of doubted it in the pre-show. Like, was that the right pick? And it's easy to stand here now and say no, it wasn't. But I really think that had it been Mirage, it would have been closer, and it could potentially have been a Fnatic win. You know, Fnatic didn't look good on Inferno throughout this tournament. Of course, they still believe themselves that they are. But I think then they need to go back to the drawing board and still need to figure out what is it that made us so good in 2015 and what is it we need now.
Yeah, and we talk about teams have done this in the past as well. Kind of gotten overconfident with their strength on certain maps. We saw it with Envy as well, just refusing to change up their map pool simply because in their mind they're still the best team on map X.
Yeah.
But they keep losing map X, 5 tournaments in a row when it comes down to the nitty gritty. Okay. And for Fnatic, I mean, sure, they can say that they're the best team on Inferno, but they clearly are not. So for them, they need to shore out some things before they can actually, bring that out at this kind of a stage at a tournament.
And whilst I agree, there is a great deal of merit in that discussion, we suddenly have a bit of a problem on our hands because we have already been talking about Fnatic need confidence. They need to have that confidence because they succeed when they have confidence, that wind beneath their wings. But we're also saying, and rightly so, they're confident on Inferno, but they really shouldn't have picked it. It's like this very weird limbo. Perhaps the veto and the gameplay needs to be separated in terms of confidence and feel.
Yeah, or at least synced up.
Synced up. Okay,
yeah, definitely so. But, they have something to fall back on. They did have a great showing in the semifinals on Overpass, which is not their map pick once again. So, they don't necessarily get too deflated from this loss. And again, it comes. I think the big swing comes off of the fact of that, or after the fallen clutch, because the fact that they actually managed to come back from an 0-5 start.
Twice,
yeah, exactly. So, they were starting to ramp up and could have been a very similar trajectory to that second half if Fallen hadn't clutched that round, right? So, I don't think they're going to be too harsh with themselves. I still think, they'll be going into Overpass expecting to win.
And Overpass, last points are going to come from you because I know the players are already chomping to get straight back into the Counter-Strike. I'm sure the viewers are too. Overpass, do we see a third? And if so, why?
I don't think we're going to see a third, but I think we're going to see a closer map now. Fnatic looked great on Overpass against Immortals. Arguably, Immortals haven't played that much Overpass with the new member KNG, but still, it looked solid from Fnatic. And it's a map where JW again can play around the map. He can go aggressive. He can mess with Fall, mess with the other guys. So I think it's going to be close. I still think SK is the favorite to take it 2-0 now. Fnatic needed Inferno for sure, and like an Overpass win would open it all up again. Cos Mirage, as said and as stated in the beginning, that I actually see Fnatic being the favorites going into that map. So it's now or never. I'm sorry.
Now or never. Let's leave it there. Indeed, sink or swim for Fnatic. They've fallen on their map pick, and so they have to claw their way back in front of a Swedish crowd on the Brazilians' choice. It will be Overpass. Will it end and go down the toilet appropriate? Or will we get to see that mirage? We'll find out after our break. We're briefly going to strafe into a hiatus, and before we do, a reminder of the app named the same. It is, of course, everything esports in the palm of your hand. It's on iOS and Android, and it basically enables you to keep track of everything you want, including the players. That's kind of the specific thing you should be checking out. You love Olofmeister. You love Fallen when he clutches like that. You can find out when he's live, what he's doing, and his stats. So go check it out. It's called Strafe, and when we do come back, we'll be jumping into Overpass. Will Fnatic find the third?